The third step, and also the last step, is maintaining your system. This of course really depends on what kind of system you've created, with the waste which is available to you and the size which was applicable for your household. But I'll give you some examples how you can do it. Possibilities for maintaining hydration level in the soil and a ratio between different parts of the soil, so you can have a more dry area and some wetter areas. And composting methods, of which there are an abundance available, but which some can be used inside a household. It's always important to stay flexible and be able to adapt to changing systems or changing variables in your permaculture system. One of the main principles in permaculture is staying flexible and being able to adapt to new situations in your permaculture system. This means that you should not work against nature, but you work with it. If the hydration level of your soil changes, that only gives you more possibilities or new possibilities to grow different kind of plants. If your compost is too dry or too wet, you need to be able to adapt to it and change it. And then of course there are the fruits of your labors, like these tomatoes, which have been homegrown in my permaculture system. This plant was grown from seeds from some overripe cherry tomatoes, and they have been growing for 2 to 3 months, and now the plant is almost 1.5 meters high. For indoors, there are 4 main methods of composting: electric composting, vermicomposting, bokashi composting, and aerobic composting. Electric composting is an interesting one because you can put almost anything out of your kitchen, kitchen scraps, cooked material and meat in there. But what it does is it grinds the materials and it dries it instead of really composting it. It only takes 4 or 8 hours, which with composting it at least takes days, sometimes weeks or months. Due to it being dried, it gives off almost no smell, which makes it ideal for inside. But you haven't really started the composting process. And even after reintegrating this material back into the soil, it will take longer to deteriorate due to the microbes and the bacteria being killed in the material. Then the bokashi composting. It's a relatively new system. It goes relatively quick for composting, only a week. But you need to buy specific grains which have been infused with a microbe to start the process, which makes it less accessible than the later two I'll name. But the good thing about the system is that it also accepts the cooked material and the meat. Okay, V-micro composting is a process where you use animals like worms to compost for you, or they eat and excrete their feces, which are fertile. The only problem with this, it's a relatively open system, for example with using worms, which could attract insects and give off smells. So for this process I chose to work with an aerobe system, which is relatively good sealed, because the material is only composted using bacteria, microorganisms and fungi. So to me this is a far more perfect system to use for this project. Okay, this is the container which I'm going to be using for my aerobe composting system. It has been sealed at the bottom, and I'll show you what kind of stuff that can be composted in such a system. It's very important to keep your balance between the so-called brown and the so-called green components. Your green components are stuff like your kitchen scraps, or tea leaves, or your coffee ground. Your browns are stuff like paper, cardboard, sawdust. First I'll start by adding the greens. I'll tear up part of the cardboard so it's in a bit of a smaller shape. Okay, I'll add the tea leaves, tea bags, which are also made of compostable material. I'll add the sawdust, which I've collected by, well, along this project. Okay, and last but not least, if you are creating a new system, it's good to get the microbes and the bacteria already in there. Those are already existed in soil, so it helps if you have some soil just a bit to start off the process. It will do it on its own, but it goes a lot quicker then. Okay, that's it. Giving it a good shake helps mixing everything. And then it's time to put on the lid and wait. For your water management system, it is important to adjust it to what the rest of your system needs. So if the holes are too small, make them bigger. And if too much water is let through, you are able to melt them a bit more close with a hot pin, like I showed you before. And it's important to adjust this to the need of your system. Maybe you need to extend the water storage. It's all on how you want to use it. For the hydration of my two systems, I use two bottles. This one is connected with a tube going down and around the first system and then into the second one, with the small holes in them, as I showed in the construction part. And the top can be used to put the water in, and using the power of gravity, it gets distributed over the systems. As you can see here, the pressure may be a bit too high, so I should lower the bottle up a bit. For the second system, I'm using the horizontal bottle, which you could have seen me construct in my last video, which has holes at the bottom. Yeah, here I'm spilling a bit around the side, so it's not very clear, but a very small but constant amount of water is dispersed into the soil beneath it, which keeps the soil hydrated. And due to the slope of the soil, the plants at the top, like the thyme, get the right amount of water in comparison to the plants at the bottom, like basilicum. Okay, these are the permaculture systems I've made. Here are the small pumpkin plants. Here are the ones who have grown up a bit already. Here are the spring onions growing. Behind them, in a very small little box I made, the pumpkins. And then we go here, the thyme, the avocado pit, and with the pumpkin to the left of it. Thank you for watching this video on homemade permaculture. I hope this can serve as inspiration and a guide for you to create your own system, and so reduce your waste and be able to produce a part of your own essentials. Thank you very much.